Good evening. And how are we? Good to see you
Good evening, gents.
guys. For everybody else, thank you so much for jumping on and having a look at this broadcast. As you guys know, every week we come on here and we sharpen one another. We come on here and we hang out. And I don't know about these guys. I got my cup of coffee right here, making sure that I'm well charged. You see now, you want to make me look bad now, isn't it? You want to make me look bad. No, there's water in here, yeah? Well, whatever that cranks your tractor, man, just go for it. Go for it. But anyway, it's good to be on here, gentlemen. Tonight is going to be good.
Yes.
Because we've got I almost said we got a special guest, but today we are regarding him as a special guest. He's part of the family, man. He's here all the time.
Yes.
And he's going to bless us this evening. And I'm not gonna even take any much longer because we try to always end on time. We are running a bit late this evening. But no ladies here on. No ladies. I was ladies and gentlemen. But gentlemen, I'm going to hand over to Mr. Jordan. He's going to bless us this evening. And I believe he's going to be an amazing session. All right, sir, go for it.
Yeah, thanks. Evening, everyone, and thanks for joining in, and those who will be listening into this. I told Kendrick just a bit earlier today, I was thinking of topics, and there's so many, but I think positive thinking was one that stood out for me, and I'm just going to have a bit of a talk about it and see what the feedback is from the rest of the guys, and even for the experiences we had in the past in our lives. And I think we all need some positivity, isn't it? Especially where there's negativity and negative thoughts.
That's right.
To combat it, we have to be positive. But it starts with our mind and thinking positive, and then putting things into action. Yeah. So I think we might ask the question: what is positive thinking, and why do you need it? And I think for me, really, positive thinking is a mental or emotional attitude of expecting good and favorable results, and not getting discouraged when plans do not succeed as expected, because often we have high expectations, and life is just like that. It just doesn't work out the way you expected or thought it would be. And also means trying to again, not expecting defeat in a sense, because you're always up against things going wrong. But to stay positive, why we really need positive thinking is to put ourselves in the right frame of mind. So I don't know what you guys think. I'll put the question out there, and just let me know what you think of why we need it, and maybe how it's helped you, or what you think positive thinking really means.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. There's so many things you can look at. Positive thinking is like vitamins. It's like eating well. It's like water. And the reason why I even started by saying that is because I'm going to use a word that we've used continuously in nearly every session, potentially. And that word is, you've got to be intentional about it. In every single aspect, it's very interesting now that you've highlighted this, where to think positive, to view positive, to be prepared to actively listen positive is always challenged, where you may have a moment of whether it could be doubt, discouragement, everything that tends to lead you to the negative. Yeah. So first I want to say everybody experienced this, even from the little kid all the way to the grown person. I think it's super important purely because for you to be able to enjoy this life, experience growth in any area of your life, it comes in as, I would say, an everyday pill of your life. I can't put it any other way. Now, why am I even thinking along these lines and saying it? Let me give you a scenario. You might be trying to cook, you might be driving, and something challenges that. You might be driving and somebody does a maneuver that makes you feel as though you could have done better. Yeah. Your thinking can go in quite a few directions, even if you deem yourself as being a positive person. And you find quite a few times you get this thought that enters your mind along a negative line. Like I said, it could be a discouragement, it could be something that beats you up a little bit, why you should have probably done better. You could have written an essay, you could have done a presentation, and somebody critiques you, and somehow your brain interprets that slightly different. In that moment, that doesn't mean you're a negative person. So, positive thinking, from my perspective, as I see it, is a practice that you should continually do, because it is not you saying that you're arrogant, it's not you being boastful. It's you practicing with intention to ensure that whatever angle, and the reason I'm doing this is because when you're looking at something, yeah, you're looking at it in a lens, and that lens is within the context of what you're thinking in that moment. Yeah. So if you're looking at this with positivity, negativity somehow comes within that picture. You've got to be able, as you become more and more intentional in what you're doing, you get to a point where rather than just that context, your context is now larger, so that you can really absorb the benefits of positive thinking. And I have a feeling somebody's probably going to say this a little bit clearer than I am trying to put it over. But all I'm saying here is think of positive thinking continually like water. Think of it, maybe if you like your tea sweet, see it as honey. It's not sugar. It always adds way more benefits than you think, and you need it all the time. That's my perception of it.
I like that.
Absolutely. Thanks, Clinton. That's really bringing it home and reinforcing the fact that just the way you explained it, by adding that little bit extra that's needed. Because I think with our minds, we're always continuously evaluating as well.
Yes.
An example you use about adding honey or sugar. You probably sometimes made a cup of tea for someone and they say, oh, you think it's right and there's not enough sugar in. Now, can you add a bit more? And add too much and you'll also hear something's not right. But then everybody is different if they as a different outlook when they have that same cup of tea with the same amount of sugar. But for all of us, we need to find out what our added sugar is that puts us in a frame of mind that creates a positive thinking, because it can only lead to more positive thinking. But it has to start somewhere, otherwise it goes the other way. We used to play this trick on each other when we were young, to throw salt in the coffee in one cup. And if all our friends are there, we make coffee for everyone, but one person gets salt. Right?
Wow.
So normally you're thirsty, you come in from out, you take a big sip. Just try it. Don't do it with the kids, but try it with some adults if you want to drink. But that doesn't give a positive reaction, does it?
No.
It might be a laugh, but that person won't want coffee from you again next time. They'd want to get you to taste it first and all sorts of things. But it's so small and subtle that positive thinking is incremental. And you mentioned intentional. Yes, within our mind, we have to think that is the outcome we want. So our intent is to get something positive out. When we think about a solution, when we think about an approach of how to do things. Yeah, so there's real power in positive thinking, in our attitudes and everything that we might think about. If I think about the key to success, then positive thinking and positive actions go together.
Yes.
So my next question is, if we have to act on positive thinking, I guess, did you know that one of the most important keys to success is positive thinking?
Yes.
You can't get to success if you don't have positive thinking, because you'll be dwelling in solving negative problems when it's not even relevant to your success. So you're wasting time, energy, everything, just because you're not focusing on the positive things. And with this key in a state of mind, I guess it's easier to achieve success, improve relationships, have better health, enjoy happiness and satisfaction, inner peace, I guess, if you think positive and the actions go with it. So I know we've all tried during lockdown, get more exercise in, get more fresh air for our mental health, and but it's not the same for everybody. I don't know, what's your thoughts? Some people gladly would run outside, take a cycle. Others would be more comfortable being in the house, and they might be more bothered about the weather. So what do you think of our actions? And what can you tell me what your thoughts are around positive thinking and positive actions that would help? But remember the fact that we're all not the same. And when we work in relationships with other people, how do we see what their reactions are? Does it influence us, or are we focused? I'll just leave it open, and you can let me know what you think about positive actions resulting from positive thinking.
Yeah. Man, this is my dwelling place. Oh man, this is truly the. I mean, I just love having conversations about our thinking.
Yes.
I'll tell you why. Because our thinking creates our life.
Yes.
Because you and me, we are where we are right now today, in terms of, in whichever area of life you want to look at. You are where you are in your marriage because of the way you think about marriage. You are where you are in your finances. I am where I am in my finances based on how I've been thinking about finances. Because when it comes to thinking, I believe when you think positive, what it does, it creates it spurs it out into our emotions. It gives you a certain kind of way of, you feel a certain way when after your thinking has gone down a certain direction, isn't it? So if I think positive, I will end up feeling positive, isn't it? And when I feel positive, my actions will follow the way I feel. So there's no way that we can't get away from that. I know sometimes as Christians we kind of like we kind of like try to, we don't preach positivity. I rather hang around somebody that's positive compared to somebody that's always negative and kind of like having a spirit of comparison, and somebody that is always like gossiping. And no, give me a positive person anytime. It's like, let's have a conversation.
But
Because
I would stick a pin there, Kendrick.
sorry.
Sorry, I would stick a pin there and then let you go on. If anybody is a Christian, you need to practice faith. Faith needs positivity because you have to speak the thing that you haven't seen yet. So I'm telling you, you're absolutely perfect. Right, what you're saying there, my friend.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'd rather be around that person who is speaking.
Just think about it. It reminds me of you gotta help me here now. I'm not sure whether this is a scripture or if somebody is quoting this, but as a man thinketh,
So easy.
so easy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you think positive, you are a positive person. And and sometimes you're at a place, for example, where you kind of like have to push yourself towards that kind of thinking. But the thing is, if I want positive results, if I want my life to turn out the way that I want it to be, I'm going to have to start with positive thinking. I'm going to have to start with changing the way I think. Because sometimes it's not even so much about knowing what to do, but it's sometimes it's just about thinking in the right way, so that emotionally I can line up. And once I can line up in feeling correct on the inside, and my head is not messing around with me, then at least I can pull myself back and say, all right, I'm thinking a little bit clearer now. Now I can go back to the drawing board, and I can put some proper action or plans in place, and then move based on how I think. But if my head is not in the right place, then 99% of the time we won't act right. And if we don't act right, we will obviously not have the outcome that we desire, because obviously our actions will eventually bring what we because we can't act in one way and expect something different to come our way. If you have planted, you get what you planted. You've planted apple seed, you will reap some apples. So if I've planted positive thinking or positive thoughts in my head, or thinking right, then obviously that's what will come out. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there. Now, you were saying something about your second question was just remind me again, Andrew. Was about actions.
Of positive action, yes, as a result of our positive thinking. What I've noticed over, I guess, many years in terms of construction teams that we work in, there's always something going wrong on a construction project in the design team, because you're designing something that you don't have all the information. And you're relying on other people to bring their contribution. So people will brainstorm and you have to work on one solution. That alone doesn't sit well with a lot of people. So you get conflict. And then you might have a construction team who's building the design, waiting for information, putting pressure on, while the stage delivery and everything's not ready. But you have to give something, present something that they can carry on with. So in this scenario, there's a lot of actions that has to happen, but nothing gets done if there's not agreement in positive thinking. If you have one negative person, it just slows the process down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Eventually get there, but it's much more of a struggle. And I think conflict in our personal beings is something that can waste our time, weigh us down, and not help us get to the positive action that's needed. If we can get to positive action quicker, we can find the solutions quicker.
Yeah.
And our actions will have an impact on other people who are influenced by what we do. Let's say you get negative news. Your reaction is what people will respond to. So that's just what I wanted to highlight. So I don't know what you think of the actions we have to do and how that impacts without us saying anything, really. But it starts with thinking.
Yeah, I think it's really hard to act right if you don't think right, because most of us, like I've previously said, is we act can I say we act stupid because it's based on how I feel. So if I have to if I am acting in a certain way that is negative, I just have to go back to the way I feel, because there's a reason why I do what I'm doing, and most of the time it's linked to how I feel. So I have to ask myself, what is causing me to act in this specific way? What is because of the way it's my thinking. So, and sometimes what we try to do, we try to fix things, in the opposite direction. It's like, all right, let me fix my actions. It's going to be hard for me to fix my actions if I don't take care of the way I think first. So you are right, sir. Our actions basically is just a reflection of how we feel and how we think.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
so it's very difficult for us to act contrary to how we feel, unless you might be able to try and fake it for a little bit, but eventually we will see, oh no, this is actually how you really think about a specific situation.
Yeah, I think you mentioned in another session us to take a step back sometimes and just look at things with fresh eyes, so not to respond recklessly to a reaction that we have to do based on something we've heard or something that we don't have all the facts about. Even if we do get the facts and it was true, at least we had some time to process it and a bit more time to get yet again an intentional outcome.
Yeah.
Because that will determine what outcome do you want. So you work your way back as to what response you're going to give. And we do get it a lot with our kids, with our children, isn't it? Because they would want a reaction. And for all parents, we know us better than most other people. We spend so much time with them growing up that they know what to ask you to get the response they want and how to ask it. And then we also need to understand how we're going to respond to get the outcome we want. But it's a negotiation at the end of the day. Sometimes you're surprised with the questions and you didn't expect it. So what you normally would answer just won't come out because you're thinking, oh, I can't give the same answer I gave last week because I'm caught off guard. So I guess split-second decisions are good if it's positive. But then taking some time to reevaluate how we're going to address this to get the outcome we want. Something that needs a bit more thought. I find that always being a good way of thinking about it. Yeah. And of course, we have to stop negative thinking to make room for more positive thinking. Like someone said in a TikTok my daughter showed me in the week, there's enough negative in the world. Yes, how do we compensate for that? Is doing positive things. And I think people also ask what the meaning of life is. For a lot of people, it's a lot of things. They get satisfaction or fulfillment out of many things. But I think if we can change someone's life in a positive way, even subconsciously, that we don't need to know how we did it, but we try our best in every situation that we encounter ourselves in. Because that way, we don't need to measure ourselves against someone else. We measure ourselves around our own intention, our own positive thoughts. And then I guess it's easier not to worry about it or evaluate it afterwards, because as long as you haven't done something negative, the outcome would be positive for who you're interacting with, whether it's your mother, your parents, grandparents, your children, your friends at work. Even saying nothing is going to provoke a reaction, isn't it? Staying quiet is going to have questions coming your way. If people know you're normally talkative, so being consistent as well. I think that's one, Kendrick, you mentioned before. Do you want to give us just an update of what that means to be consistent in the way of positive thinking?
Is that me? All right,
let me example maybe with your kids, because I know our kids need repetition. Some good examples, I know.
Let me give you. Let me just let my brother in here quickly. Good to see you, sir. Let me give you my perspective. So basically, just repeat that. So you're asking me to give you on positive thinking. Just repeat that. Sorry, I just I lost my train of thought there.
Just on being consistent.
Consistency. That's right. That's consistency. Just think about it. If I am not consistent with my way of thinking, it's the same as being committed, isn't it? Because for anyone to have any real results in any specific area, consistency, commitment, that's key. Because if I'm only consistent with positive thinking only like now and then when I feel like it, then I will see, and most of the time I'm negative. Most of the results that will come to me will be negative results. If I because the challenge usually that we kind of like have to overcome is not to be only have positive thinking when we feel like it, and because one of the worst things that you and I can do is act in the right way only when we feel like it, because our feelings are so inconsistent. Because emotions is like the waves of the sea, isn't it? You can't control the waves of the sea, but you can. For those that are from Cape Town, you can ride that sucker. You can ride it well, and then you can have fun on it, because you know exactly what you know that. Okay, it has come to mess me up, but if you know how to ride that emotion right, you can use it to your advantage. But if we only act right or think right based on how we feel, then and which means being inconsistent about it, then obviously our results is not going to be very, very great. We're not going to have great results. um, so the key is to just be consistent regardless of how we feel. In
Absolutely.
terms of,
Yeah.
yeah, regardless of how we feel.
Yeah. Thanks, Kendrick. That's yeah. Good. I like what you said there, and yeah, that's absolutely right. To be consistent helps us emotionally, because it's funny that we all have habits as people, and if we train ourselves to have a good habit to react in a certain way, then reacting becomes easier and less stressful. So if you're in a stressful situation, I was laughing at my daughter with driving, and she said, "You don't get upset very easily, youngest daughter." And I said, "Yeah, I'll start worrying if the shark actually bites my leg off. Then I'll start panicking. Anything less stressful than that, I think it's not too urgent to get too upset, you know." And I know it's different for everybody, but yeah, we found that quite funny. Mr. Chidozi, we were just covering positive thinking, and we went through thinking why we need positive thinking. We also covered a bit of positive thinking and positive action. So, what actions do we have as a result, and what are the consequences of? Yes, we should have positive thinking alongside positive action. Otherwise, we don't get the feedback that we desire at the end. And then stopping negative thinking so that there's more positive thinking for us. And I think Kendrick just touched on consistency, so that we can get a way of dealing with situations easily, because we more consistent, and subconsciously we're more positive when we encounter a situation. But I think we all have to have habits, isn't it? There are habits we can't easily break because it's part of our fabric, part of our personalities. But like Kendrick said, we should use that as our strengths, rather than, and it's again our thinking for our own nest. Can we create a positive attribute out of it? So I would say, do you consider yourself as a positive or negative person? And if so, how can you relate to past, present, and future? And Judozi touched on this, the three man in one, in terms of past, present, and future being an aspirations. So you take all that experience that brought you up until here, you also consider how you're enjoying today, and you try and think ahead what results you want in the future. So I guess for those, maybe you can expand a bit more on that, but also relating to positive thinking, what you've done in the past, today, and what you think in the future it might be. Yeah, I
You
think
on
you're
mute, sir.
on mute, sir. Yeah.
Apologies, guys. I was having trouble with the internet. I was trying to move around and get, but then it's connected back on now. Okay. So very, very interesting conversation. One that I need to hear every day. But there's a scripture that I believe this hooks into, which is be ye not conformed to.
Is your sound went?
Okay. Is it back now?
Yes.
Yeah. But transformed by the renewal of your mind. What I've found is no matter how strong you are, no matter how disciplined you are, if you underestimate the power of every single the world that we live changing as we future with technology, with the social, really in line with the new things that's happening, it will be really hard for you to have any success. And that brings to mind what is it that we listen to first thing when we wake up in the morning? Because, no matter how positive you think, if your mind is not set to even think in the first place, you won't even have the privilege of having negative thoughts, let alone positive thoughts. So it's about what do you feed your mind with? How do you set yourself up for the day? And even during the day, what sort of things do we do? Who do we engage with? What sort of people do we have interactions with? Because believe you me, that's one of the biggest areas that we are losing strength and power, and the opportunities that we need to achieve what we need to achieve. There are people who will just walk into the room and things will start going wrong. I don't know if you've had that experience. There are people who you would just speak to and everything is bad, everything is negative. Today, weather is, it's windy and so on. And so it's absolutely positive. Yeah. No matter how positive minded you are, if you continue to have such people in your life, you have no chance. So it's all about the relations that we keep, what we do first thing when we wake up in the morning, and what we continue to do. One of the things that I've done in the past that's helped me is to, make sure I have things like good screensavers. You look around the house, you go into the toilet. That's a word that's very powerful there that will remind you of what today is about, what life is about, where you are, remind you of gratitude, because most of the negative thoughts roots from ingratitude, because you're looking at things and thinking, oh, so what am I going to do? But you're forgetting, the psalmist said, bless the Lord, O my soul, he who forgives my sins and restores my health. I'm just paraphrasing here. But then, look at that. How often do we remember that we were actually forgiven? How often do we remember that even though we feel well, that there are certain things, take time to watch what happens in your body as you sleep. Take time to watch, the things that happen, that go through the processing, the amazing systems that your body has, and it doesn't fail overnight. That's sufficient to keep you positive, to say, you know what, I didn't just step into today. I actually qualified to be into this day. It's not something that I deserved automatically. There were people who were healthier than me, but something happened in their system and they had a heart attack, or something happened and they are not here today. So that's sufficient. You start your day with that gratitude, which is a very good place to start. And when you have gratitude, or something happens, your mind opens. You begin to think of possibilities. There's a being that enabled me to see the light of today. What it means is there's a reason why I've been shown the light of today. And I have to call on that being to help me to achieve what I need to achieve today. But when we don't wake up with that sense of gratitude, we don't have things that's going to quicken our minds to say, even though I walk through the valleys of the shadow of death, that thou art with me. That reassurance that He's always with us, even in the midst of the worst circumstances, should bring a level of joy, a level of confidence that, irrespective of what that situation is, we can beat it. It's okay to be in the valley of the shadow of death. It's okay to be in that place of Gethsemane where you're asking God to remove something that is made to build you, but you didn't know that obstacle is there to lift you to the next level. It's okay to be in those levels where the expectations that we have for our lives is not as we're expecting. But understanding that in all of these things, that is God, that is there working with us. I want to touch on the last thing, which is precedence. What has happened in the past? We look at our lives and we say, oh, all my mates, they've done this, they've done that, and I messed it all up. First place, some of your mates are dead and gone. So that's the starting point. Number two, I read something that was very powerful in a very funny way. And he was talking about you thinking that you've messed up, and you messed up. Because you messed up, then the plan that the Lord has for your life is not going to come through. And that saying, you just saying, I'm sorry. I wish you were that powerful to stop God, who made heaven and earth, from making what he has planned for your life to happen. So if you ever harbor such thoughts that you messing up is an action, and the will of God for your life is what God has established and what he is going to do in your life. And if you believe that what you have done can now cancel what the mighty power that created the heaven and earth has put in place, then you're joking. And that's one of the things that I just listen and I just hear, and I said, oh my goodness, I've been thinking of these years. I would have done this, I would have done that, I would have done that. Everything works in line with what God's purpose is for our lives. And when we begin to have all these different thoughts going around our mind, we know that every day is an opportunity. If we haven't achieved it, it's not yet God's time. When it's God's time, we are not even powerful enough to stop it from happening. And by the way, nobody, even the devil, is not able to stop it from happening. When we bring all these things together, positive thoughts, creating good relationships, understanding who we are, and that it's a privilege to be alive, and bearing that fruit of gratitude, so that when people see you, they see you as someone who is grateful. As we try and say, we abhor people who are not lively, who don't bring life to our thoughts, we then spin it the other way around to say, what can I do today that whoever I interact with is going to know that truly this person brings something. There's something about this guy. It's very, very exciting to be around this guy. And that way, we're going to not only live in that state of positive thinking, but we will be where we are also a source of positive thoughts to the people around us. Thank you.
Oh, Chidozi, that really brings it home, doesn't it? For us to be in alignment with God, and like you've explained, knowing that God knew us even before we were formed. So if that happens, we shouldn't even have questioning ourselves and questioning God with our purpose. If I think of what Jesus has done and things that he encountered, he remained positive because he knew there was a bigger plan than himself. It was God's plan, and that's the same for us. So positive thinking is really what you've mentioned there. Everything coming into alignment, us not being anxious about things that are not done yet, because it's not in God's timing for us at that very moment. But we don't need to be anxious when it's going to happen, as long as we do the right thing every day. And we've got an opportunity day by day. I always find it fascinating how we have to go sleep to start a new day. I know some of you have stayed awake before all day and not feeling so well the next day. You can't keep it up for a week, for 7 days. Otherwise, it will just affect you negatively. But to reset your thinking, and what you mentioned is starting a new day every time with positive thoughts and a plan, and be intentional, like Kendrick has mentioned for us. I think that's going to become our bread and butter word, isn't it? Intentional.
If it's not ready. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got just a few tips I think of how I think we can be positive. And I think there's so much we can add, and so much we can maybe indicate that's interest in our own lives, but maybe not in others. And because we're also unique, I think emotional and mental attitude, for one, our inner dialogues, making sure that's not negative. Because I think we sometimes have to speak to ourselves, isn't it? If you know you're out of character or something's not right, you speak to yourself and say, I need to get to grips with this because I know this is not how I would normally react, and then try and rectify what's not working out positively. And also, thirdly, maybe don't allow anything to affect your state of mind. So disappointments, difficulties, obstacles, these are part of life, and if we can deal with that without affecting our state of mind, we've got a better opportunity to be positive and go forward. Don't allow negative thinking, other people's thoughts or words. Avoid people who sap your energy. I think sometimes we have to do, because you can get trained and not be revitalized if you not filling yourself with positive people and positive thoughts. You have to deal with negative people, of course, but and you have to say positive things, compliment people, I think, because that just comes back to you, and have faith in yourself. Also, do things a different way is something that I also think about a lot. I think we're going to wrap up soon. I'll just put it out there, if there's anything anybody wants to add or say about, in conclusion, about positive thinking, then the floor is open. Please do go ahead.
Yeah, just to kind of like highlight what you've just mentioned. I like the part where you just mentioned about the people that you and I tend to find ourselves having conversations with. It reminds me of the law of environment, because sometimes it doesn't even matter how positive you are. If I don't place myself in the right environment, it's even sometimes more powerful for you to put yourself in a positive environment. You and I will grow even quicker in there and be more kind of like motivated and more like full of life if the environment that we place ourselves in is positive, and it's like people with just great energy. Sometimes it's easier just to be in an environment like that than to try to be positive by yourself, because it's how does it go? It's almost like it's energy, isn't it? If I can be down and out in whichever way, but if I'm hanging around you guys, and it's kind of like, my goodness, give me 5 minutes and I'll be like, yeah, man, let's go take over the world. Let's go take over the world, even though you didn't think it, you didn't feel like it, but just because of the environment that I placed myself in, it makes such a big difference. That's why we should, because at the end of the day, it does not stop with just positive thinking, because positive thinking should lead to positive actions, isn't it? That's the ultimate place where we want to go, so that we can have positive actions, so that we can get positive results. So that's why, and if we can't get it right on the thinking part of things, then obviously it's going to be a bit of a struggle. So just a word of encouragement. Let's pay attention to your environment, gentlemen, because I think that will really help us, and like kind of like help us to grow quicker. It will like expedite your growth process, instead of being just surrounded by people that always, because it's hard when you and let me even put it like that, even people within your household, because sometimes you're like, oh, what everybody's in the house is sad, why are you happy? And it's kind of like you, and you have to like have to have that kind of that courage to know, no, we can do this. Let's continue to go and just change the environment. Even if the environment is negative, we have to like try our best to change that, because that's a good place for us to start. So I just wanted to throw that in. Let's pay attention to our environment, because it is important. It is important.
Absolutely. Thanks. Thank you, Kendrick.
Yes.
Clinton, Chidozi, in closing.
Wow, man, you guys been saying everything that I've been thinking of, except there's one little bit. I'm thinking of. No, I think you guys may know the words better than I do on this one. But positive thinking does something to your body that negative thinking cannot do. You can find yourself in a position where, when you're eating the foods you eat, along with positive thinking, the benefits you get, and being in positive environment, like Kendrick says, man, is like if you're flying. I've got a friend, every time you call the man, I say, how are you doing? He said, I'm cooking in gas. I said, man, we're going green. You need to stop cooking with gas, not cook. But he's trying to say, it is well. What I'm trying to say, the word that's going wrong in my head is something about endorphins or so. I really don't know all the fancy words, right? But what I'm trying to get at you is this. Here's a typical example. They started off, but for some reason, something or someone got on your nerves. Rather than you look at it from an angle or through the lens of positively, you have gravitated to the initial quick thought that you get sometimes, which is, he or she is always like that, blah, 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 and you're going down the road. What you find, if you check it carefully, you will find in a short period of time, you begin to lose energy. You begin to lose focus. You begin to get hungry. You begin to get anxious. Now let's flip that on its head. If you begin to work on thinking positive and applying positivity, like Andrew was pointing out in a conversation with Kendrick just now, that positive actions can change the whole scenario. So rather than you looking at it like that, you might look at it from a perspective, maybe that person is having a tough time. So, I'm just going to take a moment out and say a very quick prayer for them. That God maybe strengthen them, or maybe what I'll do, I'll send them just a good text, a quick text encouraging them or something. Yeah? Do you know, doing that, even though you go in and text and do all this stuff now, that thought resulted in a positive action, which resulted in you not losing energy, which resulted in you not feeling hungry or anxious at that point in time. And you haven't lost your focus on what you're actually working on what the intention was when you started out this thing. So there's so much that plays into, there's so many benefits to be had as a result of thinking positive over thinking negative, that I think it's purely a no-brainer that even if you're struggling with it, set out to try, and like Chidozi and Kendrick and Andrew were saying just now, apply some gratitude. If you can't find any other reason to be happy or to be positive, begin to look for the smallest thing or the simplest thing and just let that start working with you. It could be the fact that you're in perfect health, you woke up and you can see, you can walk.
Yeah.
So that is what I wanted to add to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Clinton. That's a real game changer, isn't it? To actually affect the environment for ourselves and our thinking. yeah, I think our time has nearly come to an end. Thank you for coming on board tonight and talking about this all-important topic among so many, I think, that we'll still cover in the future. Thank you, Chidozie, Clinton, Kendrick, for your contributions tonight. And I hope everyone else who's going to listen in on this will find something useful and positive out of it. Yeah, hope you all have a good week going ahead. If there's anything else, that's all from my side. We'll catch up again next week, same time, same place. Yeah, and hope you guys have a good week.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, guys. Enjoyed it.
Thank you so much,
Late,
gentlemen.
it was. Yeah.
See you later. Thank
All
you
right.
so
God
much.
bless.
All right.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.